Hey everybody, welcome. This is Josh from WA Production here. I am ready to get started with another week of our live stream feedbacks. Let me just open up the channel for submissions real quick, and we should be good to go. So, the channel to submit your tracks for feedback is our Discord server. The link should be right above me, up at the top of the screen. That would be the place that you need to go in order uh, to submit your track for me to listen to it. That will be the only place that you can do it. We prefer SoundCloud links. If you post a Dropbox link or something like that, I'll do my best to get to it. But if it's not easy, we're not going to be able to do it. If it's a YouTube link of any sort of video, I'm not going to be able to do it just because the buffering makes it too difficult. So submit your tracks there. Happy Sunday. It is Sunday, June 21st. Happy Sunday wherever you are in the world. I know that we've got viewers from all over the place who tune in every week. So thank you for that. Let me just get a couple of things set up here, and we will get started momentarily. I hope all of you are doing well this week. I'm looking forward to listening to a bunch of your tracks. Last week was awesome. Hello to Pardesi Music. Thanks for saying hello in the chat. I will try to keep tabs on the chat on YouTube. It's hard for me to look at 5 different places. We've got this streaming a number of places, but if you're watching anywhere else, just be sure to submit all your tracks to Discord. If you post a comment on Facebook or on YouTube or anything, I'm not going to be able to look at submissions there. So, with that being said, I'm going to get things started here. Wow, we got a bunch of submissions already. So, again, I apologize for anybody that I don't get to today. It's not possible to get to everybody, and I am not going to go in a specific order. Just don't want to reward anybody for being early or late or whatever. So I'm going to try and just jump around a bit and see how many we can get to. All right, so let's take a listen. We've got ID by Kate, I think. All right, let's check it out. Nice one. All right, that was really awesome. I would say, I think it has that hexagon kind of feel. It's really cool. I like the vocal. I don't. I always say this, but I don't really know if the vocal is from a pack or it's something that you uh, recorded, a singer on or whatever. But it's really excellent. I don't really have too much to say. I think maybe the master, and I'm nitpicking a bit here, but it it does, even visually, you can see that it's much lower in these parts than in the drops. So maybe you could push it a little bit more with the limiter or something like that, or just increase the gain or volume in these areas, just to have it be a little bit more consistent. You don't want it to be a total sausage. You want to have some dynamics, but that might help you a little bit in getting the track to just sound punchy and big on every system. So, but I mean, that's it. I mean, there's really not much else to say. This song sounds finished to me. It's really, really good, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from you. All right, we got TNO Turkestan Abzo remix. Let's check it out.
Yo, Surai, let you know, tell them, watch out. We got it funny, not deep on the test. Funny shirt and spin in step. Now you know when we put the interest. We never listen, but we see that interest. We got it funny, not deep on the test. Funny shirt and spin in step. Now you know when we put the interest. We never listen, but we see that interest. Hotter than a fire, so we hotter than the fire, so we hotter than a fire, so we hotter than a fire, so we hotter than the fire, so we hotter than a fire, so we hotter than the fire, so we hotter than a fire, so we hotter than a fire, so we hotter than a fire than the burning sun.
Wow. All right. Another banger to start off our weekend, our week, whatever, Sunday. So that's really great. The production's really good. I gotta admit, I haven't listened to the original song, so I don't really know how to compare that. But what I will say with this one is that it kind of sounds like you had a ton of ideas with it, and then just like ran with all of them. So I think that if you simplify and condense a bit and get it to be closer to like 3 minutes instead of 4.5, I think that would be the way I would approach it. I think you've got a ton of really cool sections that are all quite different. I mean, they all sound like part of the same song, but I think, either you could shorten some of them or just take out one. I know that's hard, but like, I know they're all dope individually, but when you put them all together, it kind of makes the song kind of long, and it just seems like a bit of a producer contest where it's like, hey, look at all the cool stuff I can do, rather than like, here's my really concise, awesome single idea for a song. So I mean, that would be my biggest comment. I think this piece right here before this drop was I think it's a cool idea, but it doesn't really have the effect that you want it to. I think you need to work on that little pre-drop thing that you do here to make it more impactful and exciting. But other than that, I mean, it's really well produced, really cool. I just would tighten things up a bit, and just have it be one full thought out idea rather than a bunch of things in one. So anyway, nice work though. All right, here we got Nulo's Naughty ID.
Put your fucking hands up.
Nice one. All right, cool. That was really cool. I love how unique that was with that percussive lead sound. Really cool. Kind of like steel pans, but not really. But yeah, I really like that. A couple of things I would mention would be that sub. Like, I just want it to be dirtier. I feel like it's kind of tame, and I want it just to, like, I don't know, just make me want to really bang my head. And so I would add some saturation. Probably that's what I would do in this situation. You could always also add like another layer or something on top of it or something like that. But just make it, I don't know, grimy and big. And what else? Oh, the other thing I've noticed a lot of you guys maybe could, it's just a really simple thing that I think would make your fills and things a lot more impactful, would be when you do have like a fill like that or a change up or something that's really effective is to just throw a quick high pass on it so that you kind of remove all of the lows, and it's like, oh man, like I just lost the bass. Like what happened? And then like as soon as that bass comes in again, it's just huge, and so I think a lot of times you guys do these cool fills, but you have a bunch of low end in there, and it just doesn't have the same effect as if you were to throw a quick high pass on it, and people are just like, whoa, what happened? Like, what's the big difference? So that's like a really easy thing just to make those cool fills and interesting things, just to like jump people out of the trance they're in and like make them pay attention. So those would be my couple tips, but really good job. I mean, not too much to say about it. You guys have done great so far today. So, all right, jumping over to Welcome 17 by Controller. All right. So yeah, I mean, good work. I think that the biggest thing I gotta say for you is just to keep working at it. Every song you make, you're gonna get better. This kind of reminds me of some of the challenges I had when I was starting out. One thing is that lead is like it's like too high. It could be an octave lower, or you could at least layer it with something else that's lower. And then the chords, you've kind of got them in the same frequency range as the lead. And so like everything is just kind of on top of each other. So what I think you would benefit from the most, I mean, there's a bunch of things I could say about the track, but it's not helpful if I just tell you all these things that I would improve. But I think the most beneficial thing would be to really work on understanding the different elements of any song. Doesn't matter if it's EDM or any other genre, but the different elements and where they need to sit in terms of the broad frequency spectrum. That what I mean by that is, you've got a bass layer that can be broken down into like a sub bass, a higher bass. You've usually got your chords, keys, synths, whatever, which are taking up some of the low mids, the mids, and some of the highs. And then you've got a lead, which can take up any number of ranges, but usually somewhere between the mids, highs ish. And then sometimes you've got some really high stuff, like hi-hats and things like that. And you got to fit the drums in there as well. But I think just understanding and taking a look at like a band, a basic 5-piece, 4-piece band, how is that set up and why? And I think that will help you in your music, because it can really help you with understanding your arrangement and where things should sit and why bands are made up the way they are, of a bass, a lead guitar, a vocal, whatever it is. And that can help you improve. So just keep working at it. I'll leave it at that for now. Nice job. Okay, we've got Ping Pong by Ascentius. All right, nice job. Clearly, you know what you're doing. It's well produced. I think it's a matter of just the detail work at this point, and you know, in addition to taking that next step to really make the composition special. So those couple of things are what I would work on. So firstly, as far as detail work, I think the drops could be more impactful if you worked a bit more on the build up um, with the effects and maybe layering some more sweeps and risers and stuff like that, and filtering a bit more before you hit the drop, because the drop just it flows into the drop rather than like builds up the anticipation. I mean, it does an okay job of that, but it's not quite the level of festival big room sound, so listen to some of your favorite big room tracks and see what they do, and you can kind of take some inspiration there in terms of the effects. On the composition side, what I would just mention is that like people were saying in the chat, I mean, big room has been around for a while, and it was really so popular for so long, and still is obviously, that I think that you're at the stage where you are a good producer. Clearly, I think that working on creating melodies and hooks and stuff like that is super unique and special, I think would be a beneficial thing for you, rather than a drop where the main lead just kind of plays the same note the whole time. Take it or leave it. That's just an opinion type of thing and nothing to do with your production. But I think you could do that. The only other thing was right over here. This part kind of sounds like underwater, the vocal. I know that's like a purposeful effect, but I'm not sure it was like the best thing for this part. It kind of, I don't know, it detracted from that section in my opinion. So anyway, good job though. It's a banging track, and looking forward to hearing more from you. Okay, we got Hey Nagard and Walks. Let's check it out. Don't Call Me Too.
I want you, honey. I don't get emotional if I don't pick up your call. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. Don't call me. Don't call me, baby. Don't call me. Don't call me. Don't call me, baby. Don't call me, baby. Don't call me, baby. Hit him with the. Whatever you do, don't fall, get emotional if I don't pick up your call. Don't come for me, baby. Don't call me. Don't call me. Don't call me, baby. Don't call me, baby. Don't call me, baby. Hit him with the.
Wow, that was really good. Really good. The mix is awesome. I mean, the lead is cool. I like that percussive lead sound. It's really far forward and big, and it's really well placed in the mix. The bass is consistent and even and sounds great. The master is good. Everything sounds good to me. The only thing I would say that needs a little bit of help is that vocal. It kind of gets lost a bit in the mix, and I also think it's a little repetitive and could be a bit more interesting. But again, that's just personal preference. I would work a bit on the vocal processing. I think for such a big song like this, the vocal could use some big effects. You don't want to drown it out, but you could widen it. You could add some auto panning. You could add more reverb and delay. You could just, there's a lot you could do with the vocal. So it almost sounds like you kind of put that in at the end and didn't pay too much attention to it. So just bring the vocal up to the level of the rest of the track. There might be some things throughout the track, maybe like adjust the gain of a few things, but that's again just like little tweaks and stuff like that. But overall, I really don't have much to say about it. It's really good. So good job. All right, Pardesi Music. Let's see what you got with Archer.
It's a house party. It's a house party.
All right, cool. I like the idea. I think that there's a few things that if you improve upon them, you can really take it to the next level. Firstly, your drop, you've got it's like a bass kick or probably a kick layered with a sub or whatever it is. So you can't really obviously have much of a bass line to go along with it. But what the challenge is there is that now, except for when that bass kick combo is in there, you're kind of, there's no bassy information at all. So that lead synth, you gotta layer it some more. That's probably the most effective solution, to layer it with some lower end information, whether that's just a single bass line kind of thing, or if it's just another synth that has more low end in it, that's playing the same notes. But you really need to do that, but be careful because you have to have it duck out of the way of that bass kick, whether you do that through traditional compression side chaining or using like an EQ duck whenever that kick comes in. There's a few ways to do it. On that same note, I would probably sidechain that lead synth a bit more because right now it doesn't really duck, and for this kind of genre, it needs to have a bit more ducking to keep the momentum going, and just to keep that flow and that groove. I think that it's a cool concept. I think the lead does get a little repetitive, so maybe coming up with some ways to keep it engaged and interesting. Your song's only 2.5 minutes long, and I still kind of felt like, okay, this is feeling a little repetitive. So definitely just work on some variety there. But overall, it's really cool. It just, you just need to kind of improve your grasp of here are all the different elements that I need to use to fill up the frequency spectrum and make my song sound complete and full and heavy for this kind of genre. So anyway, though, good job, and keep on improving for sure. All right, Lance Arts, Minor Crown. Let's have a listen. This hits hard. Sucks, I know. That seems to be contradicting yourself. All right, Lance Arts, let's see. All right. So, firstly, I want to just say I love the uniqueness and the variety, and you're taking so many different genres into this. I mean, there's like trap elements, there's hip hoppy elements, there's hard style elements. I mean, it's really cool. I love those brass sounds. I mean, I'm a big fan of those, and the trappy, hip hoppy halftime parts. Um, so try not to make too many comments because I had talked for a long time about this. But um, firstly, I the main thing I feel that the lead melody is quite repetitive. I mean, it plays throughout literally the whole song. So I think you need to remove it in certain parts, replace it with something else, change up use a different instrument. There's a lot of ways you can keep the listener interested without repeating the same sound and the same melody over and over again. So just I would work on that. Um, I would also work. I think I like that bass sound. It's really thick. It's got lots of nice high overtones, so it'll sound great on any system. The brass horn type sound. I think it kind of sounds like a little thin, and it's just sounds like it was placed on top of the bass. You can improve that by many different ways, but one idea would be maybe to process it with the bass and glue compressor. Put that on there. Just get them to like glue together somehow. You can also throw, I don't know, like a saturator on both of them together to kind of get them sounding in the same space. But that's just one idea. You can mess around with that, but just you want it to sound like when that bass hits, it's like the bass and the brass are like one instrument, it just goes boom. Yeah, I mean, I would just keep working on this. It does take a little bit of a long time to get to that first drop. I think you could simplify things. It's just, I think it took like a minute and a half. I don't think it really needed that long of a build up, especially just playing the same lead notes over and over again. So just, less is more, and keep working at it, but nice job. Okay, Fox Stevenson, Miss You, 99 and Proud Zombie remix. Let's check it out.
Touchdown, midnight, pull back till I get it right. I miss you, don't care. Quick look, side eye, head tilt as you go by. Miss you, but don't care.
I don't really miss you.
Shut the fuck up.
All right. Clearly, this is, I think, just a work in progress because you stopped it right before the second drop. Anyway, it's very cool. I was going to say, until I realized that it was not finished, is that, it needs to be limited and mastered because it's just quiet. But the sounds are really cool. I think that it just needs detail work. Add some more effects to the builds. I haven't heard the original song, so I'm not sure exactly what's yours, what's not, but I thought the vocal could use some more effects or some interesting processing here to go along with the rest of the track. But the sound design's great. I mean, the drop's awesome. Needs to be finished. That's really the big thing. And then you should definitely send it back to us once it's more done. So nice work though. Really enjoyed it. Okay, we got TXCS here. Come Again. I know he's been waiting, so let's check it out.
Places
I think if you made this any louder, you guys would have been able to hear it in my headphones from wherever you are in the world. I mean, it's dope, but it's just over limited. Of course, in rhythm and dubstep, all that. I mean, it needs to be heavy and limited to the extreme. But I mean, you can see here, it's not even a sausage. It's just a I don't even know, whatever something that's completely flat is. But I would tone down the limiting a bit. When you're, I don't like to be one to tell you how much to limit or what, loudness you should be shooting for. But it sounds to me like this is probably approaching zero on the RMS scale. Typically RMS wise, if you're mixing in the box, I'm going to preface this by saying you'll probably come across songs that are mixed higher than this, but they are doing it with professional mastering studios with hardware. If you're mixing in the box, which means from your computer, generally going above -4 RMS or somewhere in that range is just going to sound distorted, and that's what happens here. I mean, even in the beginning where there's barely anything going on, it's just drums for the most part. The drums sound distorted, so that's not. I know that distortion's big in dubstep and stuff, but like that's a little too extreme. But in general, though, really cool. The sounds are awesome. I mean, the production itself is really good. I just don't want the way that you master and limit it to take away from that. There, even in the heaviest of genres, there needs to be a little bit of dynamics so that there's some difference between the verse and the drop. I mean, you want that drop to be impactful, and it's just not going to have the same impact if the verse is just as crunchy and hard. So that's the biggest thing I would focus on, is just getting a little better with the mastering side. But I mean, it's really cool. I don't have that much to say. Just keep working at it. It's a little short. You probably could flesh it out some more and work on some detail work. But yeah. Anyway, nice job. Keep sending stuff in. All right, the one and only Bass Patch Soundboy, work in progress. Let's check it out.
Oh la la la, oh na na na. You turn it up, sound boy. You turn it up loud. Oh na na na. Oh la la la. You turn it up, sound boy. You turn it up loud. 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 Turn it up loud.
It's cool. Yeah, nice job. I think it's produced well. Obviously, we based on last week, we know that you can produce well. It's just a work in progress. I'm not going to get too into the details stuff, but one thing I was thinking listening to this last drop here was, the bass is playing what sounds like the same melody as the lead, which can work, and that's fine. But it almost, in my opinion, might be worth trying having a simpler bass line and letting the lead shine out more. I don't know. I'd have to listen to it and see and play around with it to see if it sounds better or worse or whatever. But it might be worth trying, just because now it's kind of like sucking away my focus a little bit, I think. But it's a cool job. I mean, it's you say in here the break sucks as of now. I don't think it sucks, but it definitely needs some work. But I mean, it sounds great. It's mixed well. It sounds good. So keep working at it, and then you can send it back once it's done. Nice job. Okay, we got Orbit by, man, I'm gonna say this wrong. Matej R. Matt. I'm just gonna call you Matt for now. Sorry. All right, Orbit. Let's check it out. Nice. Yeah. I mean, giving you a bunch of feedback on a 11-month-old track with 60,000 plays. I don't know how helpful that is, but it's really good. The progression is meaningful and emotional, and I really like it. It makes me, want to go to a festival. I think the few things I would mention is it could use a little detail work. I think you could have some more fills. You have some, but they don't really they aren't super interesting. They're they could be a little bit more unique. I think also the lead, it gets a little repetitive, and so I do like when you came in with the second drop, you started it off and you went to a different note and then brought it back down, which is cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to give you the answer because I would need to spend some more time listening and working on it and stuff like that. But it might be worth for future songs. I'm not saying to go back and change this or anything, but to try and add a little bit more variety, or maybe a bridge in there. You kind of have, it goes verse, build, drop, whatever you want to call it, verse, build, drop, rather than there's no bridge that kind of separates and changes things. So maybe just think about your composition a little bit. Not every song needs a bridge, but it might help a little bit. So yeah, I mean, just think about that, but I mean, the production is great. I mean, if you're young, like in this picture, I mean, that's freaking awesome. So good job, but looking forward to hearing more from you. I don't think this is the first one you've sent, but it's always hard to keep people in order and remember everybody. So, okay, we got Dev Beats Vision. Let's check it out. Nice job. Cool. So well produced, sounds great. The song is bouncy, and I think that it could be bouncier. um, the lead, I love it. I love it. It's like got that white noise tip, so that it's just like plucky and transient and stuff like that. What I think takes away from that a little bit is that your bass isn't like that, and it kind of tails out even when you cut off the lead. And I'm not saying you need to play the bass in the exact same rhythm as the lead, but for example, in each bar or whatever, the lead kind of stops at a certain point, right? But the bass tails off. And so if you cut the bass at that exact same time, I'm not saying do ba 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 ba, like the same rhythm, but like at least at the end of a certain phrase, I think that would make the track more bouncy because the bass would then be cutting out as well, and it just creates more space. You cut that out, and now there's silence. There might be some other elements, but like the bass is now out, and so it just creates more bounciness. So I would look into that. You can always just I don't know what DAW you're using, but in Ableton or whatever, you could freeze and flatten, or you could bounce the sample or whatever, and just literally delete pieces if that's easier than doing that in MIDI and all of that. But I think that's what I would recommend. I think that the non-drop parts I would flesh out a little bit more, maybe add some effects on the plucks and make it a little bit more interesting and unique. But I mean, the song's great. It's really well produced, and I think just those little techniques to tighten it up and make it just bouncier and more commercially viable, I think would be what I would recommend and would take it to the next level. So nice job. Okay, we got KRST Music, Let Me Love. Cool. All right. Yeah, I like the vocal sample there or whatever that is. It sounds cool. I think it sounds really professional and crisp the way that it's been processed. The overall idea is really, really awesome. I like it. It's definitely unique. It sounds very cool. I did notice a bunch of people in the comments saying more bass. I would agree, although that doesn't just mean increase the volume. I would, the bass just kind of, it sounds like a sub that has nothing on it. And so, especially, I'm listening on really good headphones, but I'm guessing that if I were listening on crappy ones, that I wouldn't be able to hear the bass very well. So the key there is a few things. You can add some saturation. You can add a layer. You can add some more compression or multiband compression or something like that to bring out some of the higher overtones. There's a lot of things that you can do, but yes, it does need to be punchier, bigger, fill up more of the frequency spectrum in order to really have it be impactful the way that you want it to. The lead, I think similar. It's good, but it needs to fill more. I mean, this is like a big, I don't even know exactly what genre I would call this, kind of trappy sort of. But you want that lead to really fill up the spectrum. And so whether that means layering a bit or even throwing OTT or something like that on there just to have it really beef it up. And then, I'm guessing this is a work in progress. I'm not going to harp too much on this, but it's really not limited really or mastered. The drop is not the loudest part of the track, and I'm not saying it needs to always be super loud, but you can see that the build, I think, is kind of louder. You can even see that in the waveform than the drop. So work on those things. The production though is great. It's really cool, and I really like how unique it is and interesting. So keep it up though. I'm thinking great things for you. Okay, cool. So unfortunately, we've reached that time, guys. I only have an hour here, so thank you all for submitting today. These were really, really good. I'm blown away by a lot of you. If I didn't get to you this time, I'm sorry. I will try to do better the next time. But for now, please visit our Discord. You can get feedback on your tracks from other producers in there. And again, if you want to guarantee that I listen to your track, feel free to send in proof that you purchased a product from us in the coming week. Send it to josh@waproduction.com, just a screenshot of your order, and I will guarantee that I listen. Nobody sent me anything this week, so y'all missed out on a guaranteed listen. So anyway, gonna sign off now. Thank you so much for joining us, and I am very much looking forward to next week. Have a good one.